When I was 16 and a half, I joined the army. I was a boy soldier for a year. At about the same time, my sister, a totally different kettle of fish. She had 15, 20 trophies of different types, cups and shields and rosettes for ballet dancing. She was fantastic. She was still at school. After I'd been in the army for a year, I went to man's service. Went to Germany within about 6 months of getting to the regiment. A few months after that, went to Ireland for the first time. That was scary. There's bombs going off, car bombs. People being shot left, right and centre. Petrol bombs being thrown, riots every day. It's really scary. I came home on leave. A couple of years later, this is actually getting into 73 now. And my sister, unbeknownst to me, had left school and got a boyfriend, and she'd even had a baby. Isabel was her name, lovely little girl. And when I came home on leave, again, it was just before going to Ireland for the second time. That time wasn't so scary, it was a much calmer place. But my sister used to live in near Chester, just outside Chester, near the coast. And she came all the way up to my mum's in Manchester just to see me, so I could see the baby and meet her husband-to-be, Simon. He was a great guy, gorgeous baby. And they were really happy. And she was getting on with her career, in spite of having a baby, she was still getting on with her career. And on the way home, she was driving, she always drove. Simon didn't drive. A tanker was overtaking them on the motorway. So there's like barriers down the sides, and the tanker started to pull in. She was right alongside the tanker. There's nowhere for her to go. There was no arch shoulder. It was just a barrier. She'd have just gone straight over the edge, and that could have been certain death. So she couldn't go backwards because the trailer wheels were behind her, and she couldn't go forwards because the unit wheels were in front of her. And the police said she tried to drive underneath to get clear, but the car's much too big. And somehow the car started to roll, and Isabel got killed. Simon died. They had to cut her out, and when they cut her out, she'd lost her legs. They'd been sheared off by the dash, just being forced down, chopped her legs off at just above the knees. She was in a coma for 6 months. I'd been to Ireland, come back home, and gone on leave. And I went to hospital to see her. My parents were already there, my other sisters were there. And we all had a little get together, chat, caught up. My mum and dad asked me if I was going on with them. I said, no, I'll stay. I'll stay with my sister for a while. So they left, and I was sort of holding my sister's hand and talking to her. And after they'd been gone half an hour, she opened her eyes. I immediately rang the nurses, pressed the buzzer for the nurses. And the first thing she said is, "Where's my daughter?" I just felt I couldn't contain myself. I was crying. She could see something was wrong. I tried to tell her. I tried to not to tell her, actually. I didn't want her to think about it. She'd only just woke up. She didn't even realise she'd been in a coma for 6 months at this point. And I said to her, she just woke up. It's been 6 months. She's been in a coma. And she says, where's Isabel? So I said, she died in the crash. Simon died in the crash as well. She started to scream and kick, and I tried to quiet her down. I couldn't calm her down. Nothing I did mattered. And then she'd realised that even though she was kicking, the bedclothes weren't moving, so she pulled the blankets up and saw the stub of her leg. Then she just went completely quiet. Very still. No movement. At first I thought she'd died. And then I realised she's just looking straight up at me. I was just saying, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's all I could say. He moved me away, started looking after her. That was 40 years ago. Now she just sits in a wheelchair, looking out the window. That's all she does. Every day. The same thing. And I think it's my fault that she's like that, because I told her that the baby was dead. Thank you for listening.